This is the first podcast of Talkin Fitness, and I have with me today IFBB Pro Ryan Paderaki. What's up,
What's going
Ryan?
on, man?
Hey.
Not much.
So just a kind of a brief resume. You're an IFBB Pro, obviously. You are a personal trainer and now a gym owner.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So you're actually you are my personal trainer. So thankful to have you
Yes,
on. I
sir.
really appreciate it and taking time to do this.
It's always my pleasure. Always my pleasure to take the time.
So I kind of gave you a little brief introduction. Kind of tell us a little about yourself and when you got your pro card and stuff like that. And then I'll ask you some questions a little bit more in depth on some of your competitions and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, well, since we're talking fitness, I've been training for probably going on 22, 23 years now. Didn't really pick it up early in life. I didn't start training with weights until after school, after I graduated from high school, that is. I was always an athlete growing up, so sports, my life revolved all around just sports and all the different sports that I played. And coming from the era that I was in, I mean, the weight training was never really forced or pushed upon us.
Mm-hmm.
So basically just, doing more conditioning style work, running and different stuff that was conditioning us for sports. So after my sports history that I competed in, after I was finished, I had a good friend of mine who was into bodybuilding, was always into bodybuilding. And I was always make fun of him. I was like, man, I don't know why you're doing that. That's ridiculous. And so I would always pick on him. So after I was done doing sports, he kind of invited me to the gym to work out with him one day. And so I did. And, I kind of started falling in love slowly but surely with, just weight training because my body, responded really, really. I just like to train, and I was missing that competitive edge that I always had my whole life. Something was missing. There was a void, where I would always have sports. There was this level of activity that I was missing. I was always doing something. So, shortly after I was done playing sports, that's when, the weights took that. Then, a year or so into that, I was coerced into doing a show, and I was completely against it. And I was like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting on stage in those little shorts. I'm not going to do it. And so I finally committed and did it, and I won my first show, and I just got the bug, and I fell in love with the sport. And that was back in 1999. If that's going to date myself, I don't know. But from 99 till, the last time I competed was in 2016.
Okay. So 99, that's when, who was Mr. Olympia then? Was that Coleman? Was he 99?
Yeah, that was Coleman. Yep, 1999. It was Ronnie Coleman. That was his, he was going on his third Mr. O at that time.
And just to back up for those that don't know, IFBB stands for International Federation of Bodybuilders. There are amateur bodybuilders, which is what I am, when you compete in the NPC. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Ryan. You have to qualify at an NPC show to get to a national show. And if you win a national show, you become a IFBB Pro. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, see, when I was competing, when I started competing, there was the NPC shows, there was levels. There was levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now there's no different levels. They're either non-qualifiers or qualifiers. So we had to compete. You didn't have to work your way up through each level, but you had to win a level 5 to qualify for national level shows. So the structure was a little different back then, but now it's, like I said, there's just the two. It's either qualified shows or non-qualifying shows. So.
Yeah, I remember when I started, I did in 2010, I did the Tampa Bay Classic, and that was a level 3.
Gotcha.
And,
okay. Yeah.
And that was my first show. I won my first show that I did. And then I tried. I went from there. I thought, hey, I just won my first show, but I won the novice. Right. So the next show came up was Dexter Jackson's show, and I went up there and I realized, whoa, that's for the people that say, oh, I did my first show, I'm gonna go get my pro card now. It's a big reality check.
That's
You
the comment.
definitely, and you got to bring your A game if
Oh yeah.
you're gonna run with the big boys. So that was definitely, and I learned a lot. I learned, you know what, I'm glad that I mean, I didn't embarrass myself. I still placed, but it was very, very high. That
Oh yeah. I mean,
it pushed
doesn't
me to
matter.
train myself harder.
Well, definitely. I mean, every competitor hits that point at some point in their competitive career, whether it's in the amateurs and the pros. I mean, you're going to hit your mine. I hit that point when I first stepped on the national stage. I was like, okay, all right, now I see what it's all about. So I have to step my game up big time.
Yeah.
Which I did my first show, like I said, in '99, and I didn't step on the national level. I didn't step on the national stage and do a national level show till 2009. And I was qualified, I think, in 2003. It was the first time I qualified for a national level show. But, back when around that time, there was nothing but magazines. So looking in the magazines and seeing all these guys, and there was, and the internet just was slowly starting to come around. But at that time, I was like, there's no way I'm ready for that national stage. But so when I finally did it in 2009, that's when I had this shock of reality. It's like, okay, I mean, my first national, I did the USA's in 2009 and I placed 11th out of, I think there was 40 something guys. So I was happy with that, but it was still a little culture shock, and had to realize, this is what this is all about. So I have to really step up my game.
Do you think the competition is tougher now than it was when you competed, or do you think it's gotten a lot less?
Well, I mean, as far as I wouldn't say that's a tough question, because it was totally different. See, nowadays you have in the men's division, now you have men's classic physique and you have physique, whereas when I started, there was none of that. There was just bodybuilding. So anybody who wanted to do a show had to come through bodybuilding, which made the classes deeper and a lot more competitive.
Right.
So now what has happened? Not that it's I think it's a great thing for the sport, but it's kind of watered down men's bodybuilding. You're not getting all of the quality of competitors in the same class, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Whereas there was no other class to do except bodybuilding when I started.
Yeah, I think classic physique was just kind of kicking off when I started, and it's there's some tough classes, I think. So
yeah, it's tough, and I think the cream rise in all the classes now, but before, I mean, you take those same competitors who are the cream of the crop in their class now, and when they had to be forced to compete in bodybuilding, where they had to be forced to put on more muscle mass per se. I mean, I think that added more quality to the classes and more depth to the classes.
Now, when you started in this, when you started competing, did you think that that was going to be your career? Do you think you were just going to live and be a pro bodybuilder? Was that your mentality, or no?
No way. Not even the slightest idea. When I first competed, I think my body weight on stage was a 175 or in that ballpark. I mean, I was shredded, and I did just like you. My first class was the novice class, the first show I ever did. And that was all I did, was just the novice. I was shredded, and I won. Yeah. But when I was looking, like I said, when I was looking through the magazines and I'm seeing all these pros, they just looked so unreal, and just that was never attainable for me.
Yeah, I'm actually. I don't think you can see it, but I'm pulling some up your Instagram pictures up some of your prior shows. Yeah, they're not labeled. Here's Tampa Pro. It's you stage shot with you and two other guys. This must have been an overall, because it looks like there's a lightweight and a middleweight.
No. That's the open bodybuilding. If that's the Tampa Pro, that was just the open bodybuilding class. Okay. So in the pros, there's no overall. Of course, there's just either the 212.
Oh, that's right.
Or the open. So that was just the open class. Yeah. And I think I know the picture you're talking about. I believe I was standing next to John De La Rosa and Roman Fritz, I believe.
Yeah, that's who it is.
In that shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you
Because I
place
really
in
didn't
that one?
post
You
many
remember?
shows. Man, I believe I was seventh in that final.
Mm-hmm.
After the finals, I was seventh. Back going, Peter McGuff was there. God rest his soul. I mean, he had me in the top three, but things. I was happy just being in the first call out of that show. That was the first time I was, ever in the first call out, and I was being compared with the top guys. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I was showing some of your pictures on there. So,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah,
I got a few questions here. A lot of these, what I've been doing is, and I'll kind of explain this to everybody that's watching. I've been posting questions on my fan page and my personal Facebook, and it's just been different questions about how much water you're supposed to drink and all these different things.
yeah.
And
Maybe some of them seen my answers. I mean,
yeah, maybe they're like, who's this cat
the
guy?
heck is this? What the heck is this guy? What's wrong with him?
And I don't answer them, and I really don't want to answer them because
Yeah,
it's for one, I'm letting the community answer them, and just kind of see, everybody can see what else is out there, what kind of responses they get, and then I'm gonna throw a few of them in here on the shows when I talk to guys like you and some other
yeah, that's cool. Perfect.
professionals and stuff. So let's start with training. And I know you're training very well because I'm usually I have to sit in my car for a little while when I leave the parking lot. Um, what is it? And I know your type of training, but for people out there that are interested, what is your typical type of training? Are you a heavy low rep guy, high rep, high volume, or does it just depend on the person and it depends on their goals?
Well, it just completely is specific to the individual that I'm working with. Say, for instance, if a bodybuilder came to me and was wanting to make improvements and put on some size, in that case, in that specific case, then I'm all about heavy, hardcore, intensity training. So now let me break that down. But I also believe in volume as well. I'm an advocate of both. I like to go as heavy as possible with the workouts and sets that I do, depending on the exercise, of course. But I also like to incorporate volume with it. So if there's a way to incorporate the best of both worlds, I like to do it. And by doing that, I mean, we'll try to, go on our heavy work sets. We'll work up. We'll do progressive overload to a heavy work set, and then what we'll do is go as heavy as we can. And I like to incorporate force reps. I like to incorporate drop sets to take an individual past the point that they can do on their own. So for me, when I work with somebody, I have to add something to them that they can't do by themselves. That's where I add value, and that's what I like to do. So depending on the individual, like the bodybuilders in specific, that's what I like to do. But I also train women like that as well, but maybe not to the degree of weight, to the degree I would with a bodybuilder. But I will definitely take somebody to their max,
Well, I know that most people are used to the 3 sets of 10, they'll start 15, 12, 10, stuff like that. And you don't do that.
No.
I remember I remember when I first started training with you, we started on our first set, and I think we started with legs, which was a bad idea. And I think I went to 10 and I stopped, and you kind of looked at me like, you're not done, and we just kept going.
Yeah.
And so you definitely believe in taking the muscle to failure.
For the most part. I mean, but what's failure? You have to ask yourself, what's failure? No. So a lot of times I don't take it to failure every set, but I do like to push past the point of a specific repetition. One, mentally, I don't think it's a good thing to go into a set with a pre-notion that I'm going to do 10 reps, because mentally, I mean, if you're trying to give your all and you got to get to that 10th rep, your mind is going to disconnect as soon as you hit that 10th rep. So for me personally, I don't like to count. I'm not a big advocate of, okay, we're going to do 3 sets of 10. What good is that? What good is 10 reps if we could have done 12 or 13? I mean, are we trying to maximize each workout, each set? I mean, if we are, because at the end of the day, I want to maximize being the best bodybuilder possible. And the people that I'm working with, I want to maximize and help them be the best bodybuilder possible. So I'm not a believer in leaving anything in the gym.
No. And I know for those that are looking for personal trainers and stuff like that, you are good at training multiple people, which a lot of trainers aren't very good at. And because I've noticed that some trainers, they'll have like couples and stuff like that. They're just usually the guy's doing the same weight as the girl. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Missy, she competes and she's a bikini competitor, and you train both of us and you're able to push both of us, but you know where to push me and where to push her. Right.
Because like, so it comes more than down to it's because I'm passionate about what I do. I love what I do. So I'm very invested in my clients and what they're doing. So where a lot of trainers, you'll see them. I mean, if you go into the gyms anywhere and wherever you go, I mean, you'll see a trainer working with somebody and, they're doing some reps and they're looking at their phone while their clients are doing reps, or they're kind of off over here talking to somebody else while their client's doing that. I don't do that. I give my absolute focus to everybody that I'm working with. I only think it's fair and right. So that gives me a little insight too, okay, number one, are they really, really pushing hard, or can they go a little more? And I'm sure you notice when I'm working with you, I always kind of keep my hand on the bar, on the weight, or on your elbows, not to help you or do the weight, just to kind of feel where your strength level is. You understand what I'm saying? Because just that little touch on the bar, you can feel struggle. You can feel how hard a person is pushing, or if that weight is becoming a little bit too heavy. So I always like to have a little good insight to all those things. So just not by visual, I watch and I touch and I feel everything, so I know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. Yeah, I'm a firm believer that you should pick a trainer. It's good to have somebody with a good resume. Especially like for me, I want to compete. I want to get better at competing. So why wouldn't I pick a person that's competed before and knows the game? And so that really helps a lot. So
when I'm talking, when somebody comes to me and talks to me about training with somebody, I always tell them, find somebody that has been there, done that. And if they haven't been there, done that, at least find somebody who has helped someone to get to where you're wanting to be. So, I mean, success leaves a trail, leaves a pattern, so it's good to follow that and be smart. Don't just work with somebody based on, the fact that they're a good talker and they can convince you this is why you should do something. Yeah.
And I see a lot like on Instagram and stuff, some of these, and not to pick on anybody particular, but and I'll just throw a name out there. You see Brandy Fit has got an Instagram account. She did one show last week and all of a sudden she's taking clients.
That's very common.
I'm now accepting new clients, and you're like, okay, well, didn't you just do a show last week? But
gotcha.
You just got to be careful.
With me, I mean, I didn't start really working with people till, probably like after I had about a good 12 to 15 years of experience under my belt as far as helping them prep for shows. I mean, like I said, I come from a different era. You and I are about the same age, so we kind of come from a different era. But I was competing a little bit for you. But when I was competing, there was no social media. I think social media is a great thing, and it's in the modern era we live in. But it gives everybody a forum to think that they're a self-pronounced guru, which like you said, Joe Blow over here does a show, and now he's just he thinks he can help any and everybody that that he pushes on his Instagram, or gets somebody that messages him, hey man, you look good, what did you do? Well, I can help you. It's a little bit more in depth than just that.
Yeah. When I decided, when I started talking to you about launching this podcast, I sat there and think, man, I've been lifting weights for 20 years now, and I wanted to make sure that when I did this, that I did have enough experience to talk about this stuff, And
Right.
after all these shows and competitions and all the people I've met, and that's one of the perks of having a pro bodybuilder as a trainer is I get connections to other pro bodybuilders. And
Right.
having doing all these competitions that I've done, I've been backstage with a lot of people and I've learned a lot of stuff. And and I just want to share that with everybody. So I'm hoping that this podcast helps a lot of people. But
Yeah, man.
we'll see. I'm excited about it, and I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to
cool.
do
So
well.
I feel honored and privileged to be
Yeah,
your first.
yeah. Well, it's a great honor to have you on, man. I really
We need to
appreciate
do a
it.
live show and just take some live questions sometime too, as well.
Oh, I'm going to. I'm going to. Those that watch podcasts,
Ah, cool. Perfect.
I want to have like a regular session with some guys, where we could all sit there and talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, of
different
course.
things, and especially a local here, Central Florida, because there really isn't a podcast around Central Florida that talks about it. And there's a lot of competitors out there, I mean, these shows around town
Central
here.
Florida. Yeah, the NPC Florida and then the Florida and Florida, the NPC is huge. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but probably have to have the most shows in our state than any other state probably in this country.
Especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So let's talk about genetics for a minute.
yeah.
And I'm a prime example of that. I'm 6'4". Well, I'm getting older now. I'm probably 6'3". I'm shrinking a little bit, but genetically, I never would have thought I would have been a bodybuilder. Um, do you take that into account when you're training somebody?
Um,
Like when I come to you and my issue is I want to get bigger legs, and
right.
you can see that I have knee issues because of my height. I don't have a lot of the mass on my quads yet, and that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
So obviously the training is probably going to be a little bit different.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, and with that, it's case specific as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do I do I think genetics are important? To a degree. I mean, I find that a lot of people that do have phenomenal genetics don't have the work ethic to really push it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it's for a lot of people. I mean, but the ones that do have the work ethic, I mean, seem to will always rise to the top. Do I think somebody that doesn't have like the best genetics can do well? 100%. I mean, now I had decent genetics, but I didn't have superior genetics to
Mm-hmm.
to say like any of these beautiful symmetrical guys who just look at weights and grow. That wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had to be diligent and I had to make everything count. So when I was in the gym, my work ethic it had to be at a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do everything in my means to be the best bodybuilder that I could be personally. So that's where hard work comes into play, where I truly do believe that hard work can get you places that genetics can't.
Mm-hmm.
If genetics doesn't work hard.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know being my height, I have to work a lot harder than a lot of guys do. And, usually you've seen, I'm the tallest person on stage every time I compete.
Well, of course, yeah.
So that makes it a lot
especially
harder.
with you being so tall and wanting to build legs, then yeah, you know what? You're going to have to move the weight a lot further in your range of motion than anybody else who's a foot shorter than you.
Yeah.
So you have to take the same weight and move it twice as far. So I mean, but it's just so your legs are just something that's just a work in progress. It's just going to take a little bit longer.
They're getting there.
And I believe in the last couple of years we definitely put some size on and are still working at it. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the older we get, that it's harder to put on muscle?
Well, that depends on a few things. The older we get, I believe most people tend to get little nagging little injuries that will kind of hinder them from pushing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So with the proper therapy though, and that's one thing I'm a huge advocate on is therapies. Therapy, making sure that I'm keeping my bad body healthy and whole so that I can be productive in the gym. So that's one thing that I think hinders a lot of people from making the progress as they get older is these injuries. But smart training and smart recovery and smart therapies can help alleviate the majority of these little nagging pains that do kind of mess with us mentally to say, well, I better be careful. I can't really push heavy anymore. I'm not, as young as I once was. And me personally, I believe, age is just a number. For me, it comes more down to the hormone profile that we have. I mean, are you producing, is your hormone profile at a optimal level to repair and recover? And if it is, then age is just a number. I mean, that's why personally, I'm a big advocate of getting your blood work done and trying to find, okay, where are we at? Let's see where we're at. Then we can get a little bit more in-depth to understanding what we can do moving forward. So if we can alleviate small little nagging injuries or big injuries, and if we can keep ourselves in a good hormone environment, then I don't see why anybody can't make the proper improvements moving forward.
Yeah. And talking on that, and we won't get into it too much, but Dr. Jason, he's going to come on the show. We'll get more into the hormone and stuff like that. And because he's full of knowledge. He can probably talk for 2 hours about this stuff. Yeah, he's great. He's great.
That's good. See, that's good. He's. I mean, I've never met him. I met him personally, I think, real briefly, but I do recommend a lot of my my clients to go see him. Just knowing him through the grapevine from some clients that I do work with, I've heard nothing but great things from him about him and his knowledge and insight.
Yeah.
So
I've been with him for about a year now. He's really good, really good.
Yeah, cool.
But so keeping on track with that, I'll throw one of my my Facebook questions here that I've been getting some mixed signals on it. Some good feedback and some bad. So. Can girls lift heavy and still look girly? That was one of my questions.
Can girls lift heavy and still look girly?
Yeah.
100% without a doubt. 100% without a doubt. Girls should lift heavy. I mean, if they want to really, really see the best results possible, they should lift heavy. Number one, being that women are primarily an estrogen bearing species, to be able to put muscle on like a man, to say that you're going to lift heavy and build tons of muscle, I really don't see that happening, being that it's hard enough for us men to put on muscle when we lift heavy. So I mean, Missy knows too as well. I mean, I like to push her heavyweight, not like weight that's going to snap her in half, of course, but something that's going to challenge her and push her in each set that she does. So
trust me, there's times where her and I have worked out legs and stuff together, and we're doing leg presses and stuff, and she's actually keeping up with me, and I have to okay, I need to throw some plates on here. It's just getting embarrassing.
Well,
so, but yeah, okay, that's a good answer.
Well, I mean, now if a woman has a natural higher testosterone, and there are some women, I've known some women that I worked with whose natural levels of testosterone were higher than some men that I trained. I'm talking about in the 800 to close to 1,000, and that's naturally without adding any hormone replacement or anything. So even them, I still seen that it was tough for them to build muscle. Number one, I mean, also, I mean, where's your calorie consumption? Are you taking in a surplus of calories, or are you staying in a deficit? I mean, I just don't see somebody being able to build muscle if they're always in a caloric deficit either. So, I mean, nutrition goes into that just as well. I mean, the nutrition obviously is our building block for muscle tissue. So if we're not able to repair and recover and have a surplus of calories, I really don't see
Yeah.
and able to, and not even men too, that you can incorporate men into that as well. I don't really see the ability to put, significant muscle on. So
Now, and that'll bring us into, we can talk a little bit about diets. What is typically the diet that you recommend if somebody wants to just put on some muscle and lose fat? Carb cycling, what is, I mean, I was actually researching some diets here, and it's unbelievable how many diets that there
man, it's
are.
just,
It's
once
it's
again,
crazy.
but once again, like the training, I think it's kind of case specific,
Hmm.
But if I was to start off with somebody who is wanting to put on some size,
Hmm.
just, say a general individual came to me and they wanted to put on some size,
Hmm.
and while maintaining, somewhat of a lean physique, of course, I'm a big advocate of proteins, carbs, and essential fats.
Hmm.
So I usually stick around the 1.15 grams of protein per lean pounds of muscle tissue that the individual has, whether it's a man or a woman.
Hmm.
Then fats, I'll usually stick to 0.5 grams
Hmm.
of fat per the same.
Hmm.
And carbohydrates are the one thing that are kind of specific to the individual.
Hmm.
So and that's the one macronutrient that is, I find, is just, there's not a specific number that you can just pick and just be broad for everybody.
Hmm.
So it just depends on the individual and, what they can assimilate and digest and utilize. And
Hmm.
so, and with me, it's just kind of like a week to week thing. We'll just, I'll give them a starting point, see where it's at. And I expect a lot of biofeedback from that individual. And
Hmm.
based on the biofeedback I get, I kind of make the adjustments if and when needed. So,
Yeah. Now, when I'm at the gym, I get a lot of kids that come up to me. I say kids, or late teens, early 20s, and they're the ones that talk to me usually, the smaller, skinnier ones that want to get bigger, and they'll ask me, "Man, what do I need to do to get to your size? What do I need to do?" And the first thing I'll ask him is, "Well, what are you eating?" He's like, "Oh man, I eat this, I eat that." But when someone is, if a kid comes to you and he's 18 years old and he says, I want to get bigger and I want to put on size, do you think you really would keep him on a lean diet, or would you have him kind of eating whatever he wants? Or would you just kind of weigh it out to see how his metabolism is?
oh, well, that's it. It just depends on the individual. I mean,
Hmm.
first and foremost, I'll take a look at them and kind of talk to them and see where they're at. I mean, I never just shoot out a plan to anybody without kind of seeing them and
Hmm.
sitting down and talking with them, or just having some type of dialogue back and forth to see where they're at.
Hmm.
First and foremost, most 18-year-olds that I do work with and have come across are just, they have no clue of nutrition whatsoever.
Right.
So typically they're maybe eating 1 or 2 meals a day and maybe a shake here and there.
Hmm.
So like I said, but when I see the individual, it depends, if the person looks like they haven't trained or has a higher amount of body fat, then obviously I probably want to, scale them back a little bit, just make sure they're on a good solid eating regimen, not taking in excessive amount of calories at first.
Hmm.
I want to get them on something that's going to help them to, be successful along the way. So I'm not going to overload their plate.
Hmm.
So even if like a young man comes into me and he's this superior genetics and looks great, the first thing I'm going to ask him is, okay, well, what are you doing now? Let's talk about your nutrition, see what you're eating now. And if they're kind of on a good plan already, maybe I'll add to it, or maybe I'll just kind of like observe and see their consistency over the next week and see what they're doing.
Hmm.
Because that's the next thing is if they're doing this plan and they're consistent with it.
Hmm. Do you
Then
think? Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Do you think diet is the most important? As far like say diet, training, rest, supplements. What is the most important?
Um, well, that's a good question. If I had to pick one, I always talk whenever this conversation comes about, I always lay out a kind of like a question. Okay, so depending on if you wanted to be lean, then it would be different than if you wanted to put on muscle. So if you're a beginner and you just ate a perfect diet without weight training, would you make improvements? Would you grow?
Mm-hmm.
Then, okay, so if you take the person and, didn't have the perfect nutrition, but they started training, would they grow?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, just the weight training from an individual who's not really eating 100% and they start training, they're going to see some improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will somebody build muscle if they're not training and they just incorporate a good meal plan? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, me personally, I don't suggest anybody do one without the other. I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think they're a perfect couple. You have to weight train and you have to have the raw materials necessary for repairing and growing and recovering,
mm-hmm.
or fueling your workout or whatever it is. So in a hypothetical question like that, it's my answer is worth that. But I mean, I would not suggest anybody do one without the other personally.
Mm-hmm. And do you think somebody's diet has an effect on their energy, as far as like what I eat before I go to the gym has an effect on how I work out?
Yeah, of course. As you know, personally, you
mm-hmm.
see, I mean, I have specific pre-workout meals that I will give the people that I train,
mm-hmm.
so that they can have enough adequate amount of stored energy so they can fuel their workout.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody's at the gym and they're constantly tired, their workouts aren't going good, do you think it's probably their diet, or it could be anything else?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'll ask them, "Are you resting?
Mm-hmm.
What is your rest life like? I mean, how much sleep do you get?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are your stress levels? I mean, all this can play into the big picture of things. So from there, if that's all good, then we'll go to the nutrition side of things. Because
mm-hmm.
yes, I mean, if if you think that I need to just cut out all my carbs and no fats, and I'm going to go to the gym, I need to lose weight. Yeah, there's probably a good chance you're going to be pretty fatigued and your endurance is going to be pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll break them down and kind of see where they're at and kind of help structure something that's going to be a little bit more specific to their goals.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way. I mean, the fuel for our workouts is our food. Mm-hmm. We have to be fueled first and foremost. I mean, if we don't have like a stored energy source, and we're definitely gonna feel it.
Yeah, and that brings me to my next question. As a vegetarian or vegan, a vegan is pretty much a strict vegetarian, correct? Can you grow muscle being a vegan?
Yeah. You know what? I used to think that you couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Until I worked with some people who did.
Mm-hmm.
I've helped, a few vegans prep for shows. And I mean, I've seen these people actually kind of grow into their show and make, some pretty significant improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Now, well, once again, I mean, with those individuals, their hormone profiles were a little different. It wasn't a normal person's hormone profile.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to recover, grow, and at a much faster rate than most people that I know who do animal mm-hmm. protein.
Right. Because I know Kai Green went on this little kick where he was claiming he was a vegetarian for a little while,
right.
But
right.
I just don't see it. But I remember I was watching an episode with Rich Gaspari on that, and he was definitely no. He's like, animal protein is the only way you are going to put on muscle.
Yeah, well, animal proteins have a high source mm-hmm. of arachidonic acid, mm-hmm. which is pretty significant for building and repairing muscle tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of I'm not a big advocate of it myself, but for me to sit here and say it's impossible for anybody to do it, I can't do that because I was proven wrong before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I've never been that way. I'm a huge believer in animal proteins, and I find for me personally that it's an essential source for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you think let's go back talking about bodybuilders. Do you think a bodybuilder has to eat clean 24/7?
Man, me, I was so militant when I was training that I had to personally. Even in the off season, I needed structure. I thrived in structure. Could I get away with having things here and there? Of course, probably. But from a mental standpoint, I felt I lost my edge when I did that. So I felt the more strict I was, not as far as, keeping calories restricted, because I would still be taking in a surplus, but a surplus of good calories. People would always see me in the gym, and I would always have my clean food. I mean, what are you doing? You just got finished competing and you're still eating this. It's like, hey man, this is what I do. This is my structure. I have.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and it just kept me like in the zone that I was in, and I'm not to say that I didn't have little cheat meals here and there. Of course I did. I mean,
do you think they're necessary?
In I utilize them for people, for the individuals that I feel need them. I will utilize them. Now there's some people that I will give, refeed meals to that are clean, because their system doesn't process and digest the cheat meals as well as others will do. So, and that's case specific as well. I mean, and if somebody's listening out there and they kind of don't have somebody that does their nutrition, I mean, if you'll just be, you have to be true and honest to yourself when you're eating these meals. I mean, they're enjoying, but I mean, if you're eating them and you feel like you're sluggish and you're tired the day after and you're just not productive, and your physique's not changing, it's actually getting worse, then you have to figure out or not if it's worth it for you. And what's more important? I always tell you, put it on the pendulum. What's more important? Is this meal or my goal more important? So just because, you hear a lot of these other shows and these podcasts where people are talking about these huge, crazy cheats they do, it works for them if their bodies can utilize it and their metabolism is good enough to support it. So
the 20,000 calorie challenge, man.
Yeah, what happened, man? I was waiting for you to do it.
I made it to about 6,000. And
was that meal one?
And that was meal one. That was with the cake. And I didn't. I gotta get and I probably need to get on it here soon while I'm bulking, and talking about that, because I know you kind of throw some more refeed meals at me now, because I'm trying to put on some size. And actually I broke I was 278 this morning, so
cool.
I'm almost at 280, almost there.
That's the goal. I know that's the initial goal. So we'll be kicking through that soon.
Yeah, we're getting there.
But even the cheat meals that the refeeds that I give you now, I mean, I always like to utilize them where they're going to be beneficial.
And they're nothing bad, like sushi and different little things like that. It's nothing like pizza or anything like that, because I don't. But everybody has this image of a bodybuilder that all we eat is chicken and rice all day long, and it's like, and because I'll go to eat with the guys that I work with, and sometimes I'll, usually it's breakfast, and I'll order a pancake, and they'll kind of look at me and like, dude, what are you doing, man? You ordering a pancake?
Well, see, that's just the preconceived notion that most people have about bodybuilding. They think it's this horrible thing where they have to eat this crappy food all the time, and I never felt that way. I always enjoyed the lifestyle, me personally. I mean, so
yeah. Well, and while we're talking about bodybuilders, I was watching a podcast the other day, and this question came up, and I thought I'd ask you: is what qualifies somebody to call themselves a bodybuilder? Do you think you need to compete to actually be called a bodybuilder?
No, not really. I mean, if you live the life of a bodybuilder and you do all the things except get on stage, then you're a bodybuilder to me. Now you are only a competitive bodybuilder if you step on stage. Now I know some people who stepped on stage to compete, and I wouldn't call them a bodybuilder. Just because you compete doesn't make you a bodybuilder either. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of people that just get on stage just for the sake of getting on stage to get some pictures for their Instagram and say they did the cool thing of, competing.
Yeah.
But, half of them barely dieted and, they got on stage and they did the show, took the pictures and, got the ribbon and, hey, put it on their wall and I'm a competitor.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm a bodybuilder now.
Yeah. I'm going to do the Olympia next.
I'm a bodybuilder now. I'm going to turn pro and I'm going to go be the next Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, man. Well, listen, man, I know we could sit here and I got a million things that we could talk about, but then, I wouldn't be able to do any more podcasts. So I got to save them for the next one. So.
All right, cool. But when was the last time you were here?
I was there last week. What's today? Today's Sunday. We're filming Sunday.
Yeah, we're filming Sunday.
So I think I was there last Saturday, right?
Okay, because since last Saturday, I've missed a bunch of toilet paper. I don't know where it went.
Uh-oh. I think I know who our culprit is. So has he been around the gym?
No, man. I was trying to find him and give him an invite, but
yeah.
No.
When are you opening up the new section?
Hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
They're on top of it. They're getting it going, and I ordered my flooring, so that should be in the next week or so, and hopefully we will knock the walls down and double our size and be up and rolling by by March. I mean, not by the end of March. So.
Oh, cool. Now, and you're in DeBerry, actually. What's the address on your place? Do you know?
885 South Charles Richard Beale Boulevard, and we are in Suite 207 and soon to be 208 as well.
Okay. And I think you said you're working on your website, right?
Yeah, the website is up in it's in works. We're about to launch it. We're just kind of waiting for a few things to come in and open up. I want the gym to be 100% fully operating before I launch it. I don't want to
yeah.
That's just.
And that's it's for those that don't know, it's RP Fitness, and they can go.
It's RP Fitness. Gym,
right.
Yeah.
And right now they can go to your Instagram.
Yeah, we have Instagram. I set up a little page on Facebook as well.
Okay.
So it's all in the infancy state right now as we speak, but we are growing and we plan on really, really growing over the next few years.
Yeah. I've got some plans coming to do some training there, do some filming and stuff, and
Awesome.
So we'll wait till your other section gets open, but yeah. Man. So I'm excited about it.
Also, we have our R&P Fitness Designs is our clothing line as well.
I forgot that. Yeah, you got your clothing. All you need to do is get your own supplements now, and you'll have like the whole. You'll be Jay Cutler, man.
All right. Well, maybe one day. I don't know. No, my plate is full right now as we speak. So, but yeah, we have an Instagram page too. Right now, we do have a lot of women's stuff. My wife is she's the brains and the designer and everything above when it comes to the clothing. So all of our clothing it's one of a kind. It's all designed by our people and from scratch. So it's one of a kind stuff. You can go check it out on R&P Fitness Designs. We have an Instagram as well. So we do have some men's stuff as well. We have like some sleeveless hoodies, some thick sleeveless hoodies, some thin sleeveless hoodies, and some t-shirts, as you can see.
Yeah, I got the old school. I'm wearing your old school.
That's the old school one, man.
Yeah,
that was the old one. That was the RP Fitness. That was missing the "and." So.
Yeah, everybody thinks this is RIP Fitness. They're like, I'm getting ready to kill somebody or something. I don't know.
Well,
I'm getting ready to kill the weights.
Instead of RP, well, a lot of people tell me it's like the way you train people. You should add an I between the P and the R. So it's like, well.
But and your famous line is 5 more. 5 more reps. 5 more reps.
Yeah, I always like to push people. I mean, I can't say that I honed and like came up with that myself. I got that from Tom Platz. If you hear any of his old speeches back in the day and his motivational stuff, he was a big advocate of no matter how tired you are, no matter what you've done, you always have 5 more reps left in the gym. So that's where I always like to incorporate it. Like, let's get 5 more. Right when the point when you think you have no more, if I can push you, get at least 5 more reps in, then then I feel like I'm doing my job and helping you, you know, get past that point of failure, you know?
Well, I will say, and just to what we're talking about here is that I know you took me to my next level. You know, I had been doing, I'd probably done, I don't know, maybe 15 shows, maybe. And before I started training with you, man, I just seemed like I plateaued. You know, I couldn't get above third place, fourth place, something. I don't know what was going on. And actually, you know, my last show, I took fourth at the Masters. So, definitely.
That was your first national level show, right?
My first national level show, yeah. Yeah.
That was good, man.
It was great.
It's always a good experience to be able to place in your first time out. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. To be the first call out was really good. Really good. Really awesome, man. So, but are you taking clients now?
Yeah, I am. I'm still taking a few. I don't really promote myself like that. I mean, I'm not a big advocate of really trying to push myself just to get.
Yeah, I know you're more word of mouth. You know,
high amounts of numbers. I'm kind of like a word of mouth guy. I mean, I don't want to take on. I don't like telling people that I can't train them. Number one, because I always like to help any and everybody who is willing to do the work. But I also don't like to take on too many people to where I can't give the people that I'm working with the attention that they need and deserve. You know.
Yeah, I know.
When a lot of people that just load their plate with hundreds of clients, and next thing you know, you're leaving a bad taste in a lot of these individuals' mouths because they're just not returning their texts. You're not responding to them. They're not getting the attention that they deserve and that they paid for. So I don't want to be that guy. So it's worth more than $1 to me at the end of the day. So
yeah, I know when I came to you, it was by word of mouth. You know, it was because nobody knew how to get in touch with you or anything like that. I learned from another client. You know, I had to come up to you. I give you a secret card and say the eagle lands on the rock. And
I don't know. Who referred you?
Yeah, Nick. Yeah. I haven't seen Nick in a while.
Right. What's going on with him, man?
I don't know. I haven't heard. He was coming to the gym, and I haven't seen him. I'll have to hit him up.
Yeah, man. If you do, tell him I said what's up.
I will. Well, man, that's it.
All right, man.
This was our pilot episode of Talkin' Fitness, man. I really appreciate it.
Cool. No problem, man. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I will.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah, man. Cool.
All right. Bye.
All right, man.